Hello, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm Judith Patterson. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Texas, and today I'm going to show you how to make a card from the catalog. Only today is not really a card from the catalog. I'm going to be using the pretty pillow box dies to create the pillow box that's found on page 74 of the annual catalog. So it's this one right here, only instead of using Fresh Freesia and Highland Heather, I'm going to be using Balmy Blue and Pacific Point. And since this is a pillow box and not a card, I decided to create a really simple card to go with it using the same stamps, the Honeybee Home stamps. And then I'm also going to be using perfectly penciled designer series paper on the cover of that card. So let's just jump right in to our project today. So the first thing that I've done, the only die that we needed is the large die that actually creates the pillow box from Pretty Pillow Box Dies. My words are not coming easy today for some reason. I keep getting tripped over my tongue. Okay, so these are the other dies, but I'm not using those. I just used this big one to cut out a pillow box from Balmy Blue cardstock. I went ahead and cut a piece of cardstock in half. So I ended up with a piece of 5.5 by 8.5 cardstock that I scored in the middle at 4 1/4, and this is going to be my card base. And then I have the other piece. I went ahead and cut it 4.5 inches by 6 inches, so that gave me a couple of little scraps left over I can do something else with later. And then I did also cut out another piece of Balmy Blue from another sheet of cardstock that measures 4 1/4 by 2 3/4, and we'll use that on the card in a little bit. And I'll tell you the rest of the dimensions then. So the first thing that I'm going to do is grab my bone folder, handy little thing, and I'm going to go ahead and score my cardstock. Well, it's already scored. I'm just going to crease it there and there. And then that's all I'm going to do for right now. So I'm going to start by stamping the flower and the bee with, well, first the flower with Pacific Point ink. Right on this flap. Okay, so next I'm going to stamp the bee with Tuxedo Black Memento ink. There are 3 bees in this stamp set. I forgot to show you the stamp set. How silly. Okay, so here's Honeybee Home stamps. So I'm using this bee here and this flower here. So this bee is going to be stamped right about here next to the flower. And now I'm going to use watercolor pencils to color these. Now, my watercolor pencils are an old set, so the box looks a little bit different, but the pencils are the same. The colors of the pencils, and they work the same. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab the white, and I'm just going to color this flower in a little bit with the white. Okay, and then on the bee, I'm going to use the white again, starting with the wings. I'm going to color those white. But then I also want to color the parts of the bee that are going to be yellow with the white first, and then that'll make that yellow pop a little bit more. I'm just coloring there. And then this piece right here will be yellow. I've used my yellow a lot. I used this for sunflowers. We did a lot of sunflower thank you cards when my daughter graduated high school a couple of years ago. Okay, and then I'm going to use the black to color the rest of the bee. And I am going to go ahead and just go over the end of the bee a little bit and just darken that up. Okay. So then on the bottom, so when you fold it, this part here is where I'm going to stamp "You're the Nicest," again with Pacific Point ink. This is just a fun little treat box that you could send or hand to somebody that has done something to just nice for you. Whether it be somebody you come across in your daily errands or somebody that you work with. Just a nice little thing to do. So this is almost done. We're going to fold it up now. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my tear and tape. You can use liquid glue or Stampin' Seal. I would use Stampin' Seal Plus to do this, but I've decided I really like the tear and tape. I accidentally took the backing off of that piece, so that's the side we'll be folding first. So I'm just making these ends match. You can use your bone folder tucked in there to smooth out those corners if you need to. Give that some firm pressure. Okay, now I'm going to take these ends off and do the same on this side. And then that'll fold down, but before I fold it, I'm going to take some crumb cake ribbon, or not ribbon, but twine. I'm going to put a little glue dot, fold it in half, just right about here. I'm going to put one end of this on here, bring it around, and I'm going to put the other end on here. Then I'm going to use my paper snips and just cut that twine off. And lay it down flat. Okay, so now, and there's multiple ways to do this, but now I'm going to get about 12 inches of ribbon, 12 to 13 inches, not ribbon, I keep saying ribbon, 12 to 13 inches of twine. I'm going to get 2 of those. And then I'm going to tuck those right under this dot. There we go. Use that glue dot to kind of hold that there too. There's different ways that you could do this ribbon. You could just start with 2 longer pieces of twine and wrap the whole thing around and then tie your bow. I just find it easier to adjust things when I use a glue dot to hold the ribbon in place and then tie my bow separately. Okay, so you can leave the ends long or cut them short, whichever you prefer. I don't like them being all over the place, so I'm going to tighten that bow up just a little one more time, and then I'm going to give my ends a little snip. I don't want them too much longer than my box, just a little bit. How about we use a Stampin' Dimensional right here on the flap to close this up. There we go, and then it will open right back up as well, as long as you're very careful. Left a little bit of cardstock on there, but not a lot, and you can close it back. Okay, so there is our little pillow box, and you can fill that with chocolates or candies, sponge daubers. A couple will fit in there. Just something fun and tidy. Not tidy, tiny. Okay, so my next piece of cardstock is basic white 2.5 by 4 inches. And the first thing that I'm going to do on it is to my words are really messing up today, is stamp this flower on the left side of this cardstock. Stamp the flower right about there. Then I'm going to stamp this other bee, not that one, I want this one, coming in to land on that flower right there. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp Stay Wonderful at the bottom. Okay, so now that everything is stamped, put that ink up, and I'm going to pull out those pencils again, and I'm going to color some more. So I don't need to add the white to the yellow parts of the bee this time because it's already on white. So I'm just going to go ahead and color my little bee. And then I'm going to use the Old Olive and the Pacific Point to color the flower. I'm going to go pretty lightly over the flower, but it is up to you how dark or how bright you want it. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is just start putting this card together because that is pretty much all there is to it. So I'm going to grab that balmy blue card base from earlier, go ahead and give it a good crease, and then I have a piece 4 inches by 5¼ inches of perfectly penciled designer series paper. This designer series paper comes in 12 by 12 sheets. One side is just black and white. The other side is a black and white image, like these flowers here, that you can color or leave as they are. It's really beautiful paper, and I always love black and white paper that I can color and use with any color scheme. Okay, and then this is that 2 3/4 inch by 4 1/4 inch piece of balmy blue. And then our stamped on basic white. So you can leave it right there. I like to add a couple of matte black dots to the upper corner of this. So I'm just going to grab my dots. I'm going to take your pig tool. There's two sizes of these. You've got the larger ones on one end and the smaller ones on the other. So I'm just using two of the smaller ones for this one. And there you go. There is your card and your little pillow box. And I think that these would be a fun thing to give away together. Alright, I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you were inspired to create something fun today. If you need to add any of these products to your stamping stash, then you can go to my website and purchase them there and use this month's host code whenever you order, if your order is less than $150. I would just really appreciate that. That helps me a little bit. And if you have any questions about this video, about stamping, card making, paper crafting, if there's a card from one of our Stampin' Up's publications that you would like to see made in a video, then let me know. Leave me a comment or send me a message and I will be happy to help you out in any way that I can. Thanks again for watching. Happy stamping.